Alors, on va voir un peu. Là, c'est en train de supprimer. Et là. Ok, we are live. Alors, ça donne quoi? Ça donne une bonne qualité. Ça va, c'est correct. Alors, on va voir un peu. Là, c'est en train de supprimer. Et là. Ok, we are live. Ok. Alors, this is a video to learn front end. We have roadmap.sh, which is a very good roadmap to learn web dev in general. Donc je le dis en français, donc on a roadmap.sh qui permet d'apprendre à coder en CSS, en développement web. Donc la vidéo, c'est juste pour motiver un peu les gens à apprendre. Donc la roadmap, c'est bout là de code. Donc on voit bien un peu le style et tout, c'est pas très compliqué à faire, hein. C'est sympa, c'est bien. Est-ce que c'est responsive? Oui. Qu'est-ce qu'il utilise comme framework pour faire ça? Est-ce qu'il utilise du... Est-ce qu'il utilise... Ah, j'aime pas ça. Quand ils commencent à mettre leur code de cette manière, c'est horrible. CTRL F, script. Mais je crois qu'on peut voir le code. Script. Bootstrap, par exemple. Boot. Il n'y a pas de bootstrap. Et je crois que le code, il est open source. Ok, we turn back to English. I just want to make this video in French to motivate Frenchy people. But it will be both French and English. Okay. Okay, this is suppressed. Let's look if it's live. Okay. It's okay. Ok. When we click on this, quand on clique sur ça, donc on se retrouve sur une sorte de plan, une sorte de grosse map, une roadmap. Et aujourd'hui, ce que je veux faire, donc ce qui est bien, c'est qu'on peut apprendre Internet et tout. Mais ce que je veux faire surtout, c'est CSS aujourd'hui. Donc on clique sur CSS et précisément learn to code in CSS. Je crois que c'est ça. Non. It's not this course. CodeCademy. Course CodeCademy. Learn CSS CodeCademy. Donc on fait le premier cours. Et intermediate CSS. Visit progress. Learn with Flexbox create CSS transition. Okay. Responsive design variable function. And everything is here on roadmap.sh. Okay, let's start the first lesson. Get started. on commence la première leçon. Intro to CSS, setup and syntax. While HTML is the fundamental structure of every web page, it can be visually unappealing on its own. Cascading style sheet or CSS is a language web developers use to style the HTML content on a web page. If you are interested in modifying colors, font types, font size, images, element positioning, and more, CSS is the tool for the job. In this lesson, you'll learn how to set up your CSS file structure and select which HTML element you wish to style. En grosso modo, en HTML, c'est la base de toute page web. Unappealing, tiens. Donc, grosso modo, HTML tout seul, ça ne marchera pas. Mais si vous voulez faire du design, etc., il faudra utiliser du CSS. Si on veut modifier les couleurs, si on veut modifier les couleurs, les types de fonte, les tailles de fonte, les images, le positionnement des éléments, etc., etc. Voilà. Dans cette leçon, on va voir comment on fait un setup de CSS File Structure and select which HTML element you wish to style. Voilà, c'est tout. Grosso modo, c'est pas très compliqué. Take a look at the code in index.html and observe how it displays in the browser to the right. This is plain HTML without any styling. Let's take a quick look at the power of CSS. Donc voilà, take a look at the code. Voilà, on regarde le code, index.html. Après, on copie et on colle le code à la ligne 5. Donc dans le head. Voilà. Après, vous voyez, il n'y a rien là. Ok, we copy and paste this code here and everything is okay. There is nothing. Run. And bam. It has nothing to do with the first page. Okay. So, CodeCademy. CodeCademy is like this. Voilà. Donc, on arrive à faire ça. Je ne sais pas si j'arrive à jongler bien entre français et anglais. Je devrais faire une vidéo en français, une vidéo en anglais. Mais je sais pas, je suis pas super motivé à en faire deux. Une et que je referai une autre fois, peut-être à la rigueur. I will try to make English and French. It's just motivational, in fact, because you can do this lesson alone. Okay, CSS Anatomy. The diagram on the right shows the two different methods or syntax for writing CSS code. The first syntax shows CSS applies as a rule set, while the second shows it writing in inline style. Two different methods of writing CSS may seem a bit intimidating at first, but it's not as bad as it looks. Notice how both syntax contain a declaration. Okay. Inline style is just when you write CSS inside the tags, of the DOM objects. Okay, they apply a style to the selected element. Here the P element has been selected in both syntax and will be styled to display the text in blue. Okay, this is declaration block, and this is here in inline style to do the same thing. Declaration block, this is the declaration, this is the property, this is the value, and this is the selector. Opening tag, attribute, declaration, property, value. That's all. Voilà. C'est tout ce qu'il y a à apprendre. Je vois pas trop ce qu'il y a à apprendre d'autre. Get a stock. Ah, ça c'est this is the forum. Ça c'est le forum, je crois. Yes. Community forum. Okay, let's go. I don't read the other part. Oh, let's read it. Selector, the beginning of the rule set, use it to target the element that will be styled. Selector, the beginning of the rule set. Declaration block, the code in between and including the curly braces that contain the CSS declaration. This is the declaration block. The declaration, the group name for a property and value pair that applies a style to the selected element. Property, the first part of the declaration that signifies what visual characteristic of the element is to be modified. Value, the second part of the declaration that signifies the value of property. Declaration, declaration block, declaration, property, and value. Okay, opening tag. Inline style. This is the inline style. The start of an element, HTML element. This is the element that will be styled. Attribute, the style attribute is used to add CSS inline style to an HTML. Attribute. Opening tag, attribute, declaration. Property and value. Nothing special to see. Voilà, en grosso modo, qu'est-ce qu'il faut apprendre. Ok, on passe à la suite. 3 sur 7. Hein. Inline Styles. Although CSS is a different language than HTML, it's possible to write CSS code directly within HTML code using inline styles. To style an HTML element, you can add the style attribute directly to the opening tag. After you add the attribute, you can set it equal to the CSS style you'd like apply it to that element. Okay. What that means is that if you want to style an element in inline style, you do it like this. The code in the example above demonstrates how to use inline styling. The paragraph element has a style attribute within its opening tag. Next, the style attribute is set equal to color red, which will set the color of the paragraph text to red within the browser. If you'd like to add more than one style with inline styles, simply keep adding to the style attribute. Make sure to end the style with a semicolon. It's important to know that inline styles are a quick way of directly styling an HTML element, but are rarely used when creating website. But you may encounter circumstances where inline styling is necessary, so understanding how it works and recognizing it in HTML code is good knowledge to have. Soon you'll learn the proper way to add CSS code. Okay. Instruction in index.html, use inline styling to set the color of the first paragraph, the first P element to green. Okay, first paragraph. The world is full of fascinating places. The world is full of fascinating. Okay, so we do this. And color green. That's all. Green. Color is green. Okay. Four and 7. Internal style sheet. Internal style sheet. Inline style sheet. Inline CSS. Internal CSS style sheet. As previously stated, inline styles are not the best way to style HTML element if you want to style. For example, multiple H1 elements, you would have to add inline styling to each element manually. In addition, you would also have to maintain the HTML code when additional H1 elements are added. Okay, fortunately, HTML allows you to write CSS code in its own dedicated section with a style element nested inside the head element. The CSS code inside the style element is often referred to as an internal style sheet. An internal style sheet has certain benefits and use cases over inline style. But once again, it's not best practice. We'll get there, we promise. Understanding how to use internal style sheet is nonetheless helpful knowledge to have. To create an internal style sheet, a style element must be placed inside of the head element. Okay, inside the head element. After adding opening and closing style tag in the head, you can begin writing CSS code. Okay. The CSS code in the example above change the color of all paragraph text to red and also change the size of the text to 20 pixels. Note how the syntax of the CSS code matches. For the most part, the syntax you use it for inline styling. The main difference is that you can specify which element to apply to the styling. Let's move the inline style that was added to the paragraph into an internal style sheet. Start by adding a style element in the head of the HTML. Okay. Style. Run. Okay. Inside the style element, add the CSS rule set targeting the paragraph, the P element. You can leave the declaration block empty for now. P. Okay, run. No. What is this? What do you mean? Ah, sorry. Okay. Next, paste the declaration from the inline style into the empty declaration block of the inline style sheet. Okay. Finally, delete the inline style from the P element. Oh. Notice how the styling works, the same the style sheet and it add. Ok, it works. There is no problem. Voilà, donc c'est bon. On a fait ça. Allez, 5 sur 7. Et on va arrêter là. External style sheet. Developers avoid mixing code by storing HTML and CSS code in separate files. HTML files contain only HTML code and CSS files contain only CSS code. You can create an external style sheet by using the .css file name extension like so, style.css. With an external style sheet, you can write all the CSS code needed to style a page without sacrificing the readability and maintainability of your HTML file. Okay, instructions. Take a look at this HTML. Cut the CSS code set in between the opening and closing style tag and paste it directly to the file called CSS style. Delete the remaining style element now empty from index.html and press the run button. Font changes don't take effect. Click the next button to find out why. Okay. We cut this. We cut this. We remove this and we paste that and run. Okay. Paragraphs are not in green. I don't know why. But it's okay here. Voilà, c'est aussi simple que ça. Allez, 6 sur 7. Linking the CSS file. Ah, because the CSS file wasn't linked. Okay. Okay, the CSS file wasn't linked. Perfect. We successfully separated structure HTML from styling CSS, but the web page still looks blank. Why? When HTML and CSS code are in separate files, the files must be linked. Otherwise, the HTML file won't be able to locate the CSS code, and the styling will not be applied. You can use the link element to link HTML and CSS files together. The link element must be placed within the head of the HTML file. It is a self-closing tag and requires the following attribute: href and red. Like the anchor element, anchor, the value of this attribute, anchor. In French, I think it's encre. Ouais, c'est une encre. Okay. The value of this attribute must be the address of path to the CSS file. This attribute rel is this attribute describes the relationship between the HTML file and the CSS file. Because you are linking a style sheet, the value should be style sheet. So it should be set to shell. When linking an HTML file and a CSS file together, the link element will look like the following. Voilà. Note that in our example, the path to the style sheet is a URL. Specifying the path of the style sheet using a URL is one way of linking a style sheet. If the CSS file is stored in the same directory as your HTML file, then you can specify a relative path instead of URL like so. Okay. Using a relative path is a very common way of linking a style sheet. Let's link the style sheet style.css to the HTML file index.html. First add a link element with the head section. Add a link element. Link. Okay. Okay. Next, add the href attribute to the link element and set it to equal to style CSS. Okay. Href style.css. Take a look at the web page in the browser to the right. Do you notice any change yet? No, there is no change. Finally, add the rel attribute and set it to the correct value. It's style sheet, rel style sheet. What they say, style sheet. Relation. Style sheet. O and is green. P is green. Now this is a div. All these are divs. Okay. Want to quickly review some of the concepts you've been learning? Take a look at this material sheet. Okay, style, inline styles, writing HTML, class and ID selectors, group of CSS selectors, selectors chaining, class selector, selector specificity, CSS ID selector, CSS descendant selector. Okay. Next, and we finish. Review. Great work so far. By understanding how to incorporate CSS code into your HTML file, as well as learning some of the key terms, you're on your way to creating spectacular websites with HTML and CSS. Let's review what you learned so far. Okay, the basic anatomy of CSS syntax written for both inline styles and style sheet. Some commonly used CSS terms, such as rule set, selectors, and declaration. CSS inline styles can be written inside the opening HTML tag using the style attribute inline style and can be used to style HTML, but it is not the best practice. An internal style sheet is written using the style element inside the head element of HTML file. Internal style sheet can be used to style HTML but are also not best practice. Internal style sheet. An external style sheet writes CSS code from HTML by using the CSS file extension. Not fine. External style sheets are the best approach when it comes to using HTML and CSS. External style sheets are linked to HTML using the link element. Taking the knowledge to the next lesson where you start learning how to select HTML element to style. Okay. And that's all. And this is another course. We'll see this next time. Ok, so aujourd'hui, on a vu la roadmap et on a fait l'un CSS sur CodeCademy. Je ne sais pas si je vais en faire plusieurs des cours comme ça, mais c'est bien, ça permet de voir. Keep going. 12% license selector. Syntax selector. I can reset progress here. Ok. Thank you for watching. Merci à tous d'avoir regardé ça, cette vidéo, et à bientôt.